everybody, and welcome to the Now What Next Steps podcast here at Malibu Pacific Church. Hey, if you haven't listened to this past week's Sunday sermon yet, please press pause now on this podcast because this is a supplemental podcast for a conversation after the conversation. But again, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. It's me, Joel, and we got
Andy.
Yeah, Andy. Man, brand new series.
Yeah, really good.
I felt
kicked off with a home run here.
Felt all the feels.
Yeah, I felt all the feels all Sunday. Feels. Pulling out chairs, we were full, and it's not about the numbers, but it's great that people are coming back from vacation and showing up. It just was great.
I mean, you know what? It's not about numbers, but 270, 270 plus.
It was great.
It was awesome. No,
so we are ready for two services. We are
ready.
making room for more.
Yeah.
And September 8th, we're launching two services. So super excited about that. Oh, also we have Volunteer this Saturday.
Volunteer.
If you want to say more about that.
Absolutely. This is our first annual Volunteer. First annual Volunteer celebration where we get to celebrate all the volunteers. Also do some dreaming, vision casting, and more importantly, implementing to get us to these two services. Because once we go to two, you know what's next?
No. What's after two? I think three.
20? I mean, that's just more people getting to know Jesus. That's a huge celebration.
Right.
So we know if you're listening to this podcast, we will see you at Volunteer.
So even if you're not volunteering, show up.
Yep.
This is a great place to plug in. You will find your place. You will find your people this week. So show up and you have a great time and you'll get plugged in.
Absolutely.
Saturday, 10 o'clock.
Saturday. Great stuff. All right, so let's go into the sermon for this week. All right, Andy, if there was a bottom line for this session one of all the feels, what would that bottom line be?
Well, feeling number one, anxiety, or you can actually, I said all three. I said anxiety or stress that you're feeling. It goes all under that. So in anxiety, we're feeling anxiety, all the feels right now because school is starting. I'm hearing it from our staff, poor Amy and beautiful daughter Sage is starting school.
She's
I know Andre leaving to college.
She's moving away.
Yeah, all the way to Pepperdine. And
Sorry, Amy.
so, but also, Tyler, we love you. He's been doing stuff here with our tech team. He's getting ready to go to school at Baylor. So there's anxiousness.
Yes.
People are feeling anxious. I don't think beginnings are in January like January 1. Really beginnings for families, churches, schools. It's really September to May.
Yeah.
So this is really the new beginning. And what do we feel with new beginnings or uncertainty is anxious. We're nervous. We're, feeling stressed.
Yeah, well, the world wants to know, Andy, since you're a pastor, have you ever felt anxious? Probably not.
Never. I've never felt any anxiety.
A man of the cloth.
I have never gotten up late at night at 2 a.m. worried about something, ever.
Cool.
Hey,
and that's why you should
I
be a
have
pastor.
kids. What are you talking about? I have kids. I have a job, and unfortunately, I watch the news now and then, or the stock market. So, yes, plenty. I wasn't preaching to anybody else except for me. Actually, in all seriousness, I was wrestling with it all week.
Nice.
Because I was feeling anxious about a lot of things, and so I was like, I'm not preaching to anybody else. This was for me. So a few times last week, I was up at 2 a.m, sometimes 4 a.m. Yeah. Just like you're thinking about things. So anyway, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody really got on board the moment you started naming the top 7, I believe.
Yeah.
Which I've never heard a top 7 before. Well, I heard like a top 5, top 10, top 100, but a top 7. I felt it was very biblical, so that's fine. You know, so there we go. And money being the number one stressor.
It is.
My question is, do you think that's the same stressor in different countries, or is it really North America or
well, I almost said something on Sunday. Glad you're listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
I go to Ghana, West Africa, third world country. I'm in villages and they have nothing.
Yeah.
They are happier than Americans. And I think that leads us to our point.
Yeah.
Your devotion, whatever you're devoted to, leads to the emotions that we have or leads to our anxiety. So what we're devoted to will determine our anxiety.
Yes.
And what we feel anxious about.
Absolutely.
What we feel stressed out about. Well, blessed are the poor in spirit. I mean, Jesus was like, actually happy, the word blessed means happy are those who are poor.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to worry about. I don't have stuff to worry about. So I don't know. I think, people think, oh, if I'm a billionaire and I have everything in the world, I don't feel stressed. Actually, they have done studies even for multi-gazillionaires they actually feel more stressed because there's more to worry about.
Oh.
So what we're devoted to.
Uh,
So I think I don't know. I didn't have much of a worry at 18, 19 going to college. I had a little pickup truck and no money.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I was going to school. Life was good.
Totally.
So I think the more stuff, or let's get into it.
Yeah.
More, if we're not aware of what we're devoted to, the more stress we have, or what kind of stress do we have? So, but people who aren't following Matthew 6, which is this weekend, the more stuff you have and the more you're devoted to it, the more stress you have.
Absolutely.
People in a third world country, I don't know. All the friends and I, when we were in Ghana, West Africa, these kids look family. They were happy.
Yeah.
Ghanaians are happy people. They're funny, joking around. Like the people we took on the trip are like, how are these people so happy?
Yeah.
They have nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm thinking, well, maybe that's why they're happy. I don't know.
I felt the same way when I was in Cuba. Like, I was just like, besides the whole like communism thing, but like, really, the people there were just so happy and joy filled, wanted to serve one another.
Yeah.
Like, and it was truly beautiful. And I'm like, and I come back to the States and I'm like, oh yeah, let's build a higher wall. Let's build a bigger fence. Let's
isolate more and get more stuff.
Yeah, that'll make me happy.
Yeah.
But really, it's like the connection with people. That's
exactly
what it is. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're talking about devotion. We did trying to name different things. There's money. There's job. My health. I mean, my future. The economy. There's a lot of things that we can keep adding to the list, and you have your own list. But yeah, one thing that I find that people. I'll just speak for the last 20 years because that's the world I was in and the kids that I raised. We've moved into making our kids our idols, or being so devoted to our kids that whatever their feelings becomes our feelings.
Yeah.
So what you're devoted to is what you're anxious about.
Yeah.
I mean, love your kids, but don't make them primary in your life.
Totally.
There is I don't know if some of you have done this, and it's pretty old, but Growing Kids God's Way, which says don't make the kids your number one priority. Your spouse is your number one priority. So when you come home, dads, moms, or whoever, and the kids come up, say, hey, hon, hey, kids, I'm going to take a few minutes and talk to your mom, or be with your mom, or I'm going to be with your dad, whoever you're with, or significant other. What is teaching the kids is you're secondary in this relationship. We have made a tendency as Americans, I think, to make our kids first and primary. Yeah. So one thing I kind of hit on, I think we had a question this week.
Yes,
is
we do. Yeah. It was you showed a funny video.
I did
of a bird throwing out one of the kids out of the nest.
So I'm still laughing about it.
No, it was one of those
video.
It's very funny. But we did have a question.
Okay.
Andy indicated that the chick was fine, but I'm very confident that the chick's wings were not sufficiently developed, and it was covered in down rather than feathers. The much more likely scenario is that it didn't have enough food for all three chicks. The parent made the choice to end the life of one chick in the possible hope that the other two would survive. But one thing I'm trying to figure out today is whether I should walk away from that part of the sermon wrestling with the idea that sometimes people need to be sacrificed for the greater good, or if I should be wrestling with the idea that sometimes people need a push in order to realize their potential.
Those are great questions. It's just I wasn't thinking that, and I added to it at the end that at some point we need to kick the kids out of the nest. And I made a joke. If you're playing video games and you're living in mom's basement and you're 40 years old,
time to get a job.
It's time to get a job. It's time to go mow the lawn. It's time to make your bed.
Yeah.
In other words, kick you out of the nest.
Yeah.
Little side note here. It is the job of the men or dads to cut the umbilical cord and launch kids into the world. So moms typically play the loving, nurturing, and the dads are, come on, kids, grow up. And that's just typical. I'm not saying that's true for everybody, but I was just using that video as an illustration that at some point we don't want even the kids to leave the nest. The kids are going to be okay. And the scripture is in Matthew 6, look at the birds in the air. Aren't you so much more important than the birds in the air? Doesn't God take care of the birds?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just trying to use the video. Maybe it was a bad video, but I don't know. I just thought it was making the point that God is going to take care of that little baby.
Yeah.
God created into nature a way to nurture and care. And God is going to help that little baby who's jumping. The mama knows when to kick the baby out of the nest. The baby's ready to fly. So let's it's okay. Let the kids out of the nest. Don't live your lives through your kids. And the kids are going to be all right.
Yeah. Let's trust in that.
Let's trust in that.
Yeah.
Let's trust that God,
Yeah.
they're actually God's children. They're not yours.
Yeah.
And our job, we'll feed them, we'll nurture them, we'll do everything we can, but at some point you need to let them go. Also, I'm just making the point because this is a cultural thing. I don't think I would show that. I would have a different illustration in Ghana, West Africa for this. I think they would interpret it differently. But in America, we have made our children our idols. I think we've made our kids, what we're devoted to. We're more devoted to our kids than we are to God.
Ooh.
And I see that when we say, oh, we can't take the kids to youth group because we got piano lessons tonight.
Yep.
Or, oh, our kids can't do that because blah, blah, blah. They need to go to soccer practice or baseball. I don't know what, or ballet, whatever it is.
Yep.
So you are making those programs, those things more important than having your kids connect with God. That's a problem. We have a tendency in American culture that we have idolized our kids and we want to give them all trophies and they're all heroes and they're all champions and they're all winners.
Yeah.
Well, they're not.
They're not.
So they're not learning.
Yeah.
We're not pushing them out of the nest. Hey, kids. I mean, when you don't give a kid a trophy, what you're saying is the world's kind of rough. You're going to have to work hard.
Absolutely.
So
maybe next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the illustration there. Don't make our kids. God is going to take care of that baby.
For sure.
And look at what nature does. God takes care of the birds.
Absolutely.
And biblically, I just take this also from Abraham and Isaac, that God told Abraham, go and sacrifice Isaac, your son. And I believe one big thing that's happening there is I want you to dedicate him to me. And are you willing to let go of your son Isaac, who is the lineage of the people of God that God is going to use? But if you're going to keep living your life through Isaac, he's mine, he's not yours, Abraham. So you got to let him go. So however way you want to look at it, I don't know if you had any questions with that, but that was just the idea. Take care of the birds. Look at how I wasn't thinking that deep that this person is asking. I was just saying God takes care of birds.
Yeah. Good question. It's getting people on the bus. So I think, and I love that we have a medium like this, like the podcast, and soon to be small groups that are going to be launching as well, where we can discuss these types of things too and go even deeper. One of my favorite moments of the entire sermon is when you're telling people that you just don't care about them. I'm just kidding. I was laughing.
I had to preface that.
I was laughing so hard because you just.
I'm not devoted to your job. Exactly. Why would I care about your job?
I don't care. And it was like, you heard. For me, I'm
drop.
I was like
really
laughing
quiet.
so hard that I was like tears are coming down because I understood what you were saying, and I think people were too. But there was also maybe some people here that didn't understand. He's a pastor. He's supposed to care about my job. He's supposed to care about, like.
Do you think it got clearer later? Maybe
it totally
your
did.
Devotion determines the things that I am worried about.
Yeah.
You
have your, and I love that you said you had your own. You have your own.
I got my own because I'm devoted to those things.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it was just like a really refreshing, I don't know, moment there because I know sometimes people can put pastors on a pedestal and things like that too. Yeah. That it's very like. You're just like super, like you're human. We know that, everybody. Sorry. He's an amazing human. Yeah, he's an amazing human. But like, for real, it's like, it was just an awesome moment because I think afterwards people had that same thing of like, it clicked with everybody. Like at the very end of that sermon, it was like, oh yeah, it's not supposed to be somebody else worrying about my things.
Ooh.
It's supposed to be me taking care, like, really like finding out why I have these anxieties. Why am I anxious about this thing? And why am I not giving it to God?
Oh, there it is.
And I think that is That is what people walked away with, to be really honest. And that was the patio culture afterwards. That's like one of my favorite things is hearing what people thought. And not just to like pick apart, but to hear like, how are we going to put this into action? You know, this isn't just going to be living in my head anymore. This is going to be something that I'm actually going to take a step with this week.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what sparked everybody. It was like, okay, I'm anxious about this thing. I need to give it to God and truly give it to God. Not just say, here you go, God, but still hold on to it. You know? So I think it was beautifully communicated with that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that last verse. And I mean, as we just finish up here, is seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be given. The word given is grace. It's the same word as grace, and grace is a gift.
Yeah.
So you're going to be graced with, you're going to be blessed with. It's going to be a gift that's going to be given to you. You don't need to work so hard for these things. It doesn't mean be irresponsible. It means work as hard as you can, try as hard as you can, and then at the end of the day, don't keep devoted to it and worrying about it. But God, I did all I could. I'm trusting you for the rest. I'm putting you first, God. So yeah, our win for Sunday was that people would make that transfer. I'm giving you my fears and concerns and anxiety. I'm putting you first. And in exchange, there's an exchange happening here. In exchange, God will give those back to us. He cares about the details of our lives.
Amen.
He wants us to enjoy those things. But don't make them idols. Don't put them first, because they will always make you anxious. Put God first, seek God first, and all these things will be added, will be given, will be graced to you. And when you receive a gift, there's joy.
There is.
Versus living with this anxiousness the whole time.
Yeah.
So devote ourselves to God first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you again. Session 1. That's awesome. Session 2 coming around the corner on Sunday, 10 a.m. Yeah. On site and online. And we want to make sure that you're at Volun 2 if you're listening to this right now. And we want to get you plugged in, because I'll tell you what, when you serve, your life changes for the better. All right. Constantly, you're probably thinking, but I'm going to serve this person and their life is going to be better. Yeah, it's a win-win situation. You're going to find community. On top of that, you're going to find your purpose and calling. So come to Volun 2, even if you're not volunteering right now. With that said, thank you for joining in on the Now What Next Steps podcast here at Malibu Pacific Church. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, and share this podcast and sermon with someone you know who needs to hear it. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.